Hi, I'm Michelle, and today I'll be talking about visualizing student performance, engagement, and risk. In this short video, I'll show how visual analytics turns raw learning management system data into insights that educators and university administrators can act on. I'll walk through the chosen dataset, the problem and objectives, 3 dashboards that answer each objective, key limitations, and the takeaways for teaching and decision making. Digital platforms in higher education generate large data sets on student performance, engagement, and behavior, but routine reports reduce them to simple summaries that hide deeper patterns. Visual analytics bridges this gap by turning complex data into clear, actionable insights, showing how students interact with materials and how those interactions relate to outcomes. The chosen data is a cross-sectional snapshot from the College Student Management dataset taken from Kaggle. This data was obtained from anonymous universities across the United States, and it includes variables such as GPA, course load, attendance rate, and student risk label. Now, what's the problem? Universities collect rich LMS data, but routine reports collapse it into averages that hide these patterns. Without concise visual analytics, educators cannot relate engagement to performance, compare behaviors by risk level, or spot behavior combinations linked to GPA. This brings me to the objectives of the study, which are to explore patterns and trends in student performance and engagement, to compare student behaviors across risk categories, and to identify relationships among key features using visual analytics. Now, let's get to the interesting bit. Dashboard 1 corresponds to Objective 1, and on the left, we are comparing key engagement activities across the GPA quartiles. As we move from the lower to the higher GPA group, you'll notice that the bars get taller and the submission segment becomes the most dominant portion of engagement. LMS logins also increase slightly, while forum participation remains minor. This indicates that higher achieving students are not just active, they're consistently completing their coursework on time. And on the right, the ordered line looks at the relationship between course load and average GPA. There is a downward trend as course load increases, indicating that students taking heavier loads tend to have slightly lower GPAs. From these visualizations, engagement that reflects discipline and regularity aligns with higher GPA, whereas overloading can pull averages down. Now, on to Dashboard 2. Starting at the top left, the heat map gives a quick scan of engagement metrics by risk groups. Darker cells indicate stronger engagement. The low-risk column tends to be darker overall, while the high-risk column is lighter, especially for attendance. To avoid totals being skewed by cohort size, the graph on the right shows per-student averages. LMS logins are very similar across groups, indicating that LMS logins do not separate students by risk levels. Now, the bottom graph plot, which is attendance by risk, is the clearest signal whereby low-risk groups had higher and tighter attendances, whereas the high-risk groups indicated lower attendances. Now, for Dashboard 3, which corresponds to Objective 3, we have a scatter plot of GPA versus LMS logins at the top. The colors show risk level, and the bubble size indicates assignment submission rate. In the logins range, we can see both low and high GPAs, so login alone are not a good indicator. And as bubbles get larger, this indicates higher submission rates, and they tend to appear higher on the GPA axis. We can also see more low-risk colors in the upper area. This suggests that submission behavior aligns closely with achievement. At the bottom, the correlation heat map summarizes the big picture. The GPA risk cell is clearly negative, indicating that as risk goes up, GPA goes down, and while GPA logins and GPA forum sit near zero. Before we wrap up, a quick note on limits and next steps. This analysis is cross-sectional without timestamps. Therefore, the results are descriptive. Totals can also be influenced by cohort or instructor effects, and some metrics like logins are just pure noise. To improve, time index data by students across week per term should be collected so that trends, lags, and recoveries can be tracked. On the operational side, multi-signal early alerts such as a combination of attendance, submissions, and selected LMS logins should be monitored to tune precision over time. To close, the 3 dashboards answered our objectives. First, in patterns and trends, we saw that as GPA rises, engagement increases, and heavier course loads are linked with lower average GPA. Second, across risk groups, attendance is the clearest separator where low-risk students attend sessions consistently and high-risk students did not. Third, the relationships view show logins alone are a weak signal, and the correlation matrix confirms GPA and risk levels move in opposite directions. For educators, attendance streaks and submission regularity need to be monitored closely. For administrators, action can be taken per student rates, distributional views, and multi-signal alerts, and all these are to be closely monitored. And for top management, investing in good attendance capture, assignment support, and analytic capacity will translate into targeted investments. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you.